Through innovation, academic excellence, and family-centered clinical care, Children's Mercy Kansas City is transforming outcomes for children around the world. Welcome to the audio interview series, Transformational Pediatrics, with host Dr. Michael Smith.
So our topic today is cutting out lawnmower injuries, the importance of preventing and reducing pediatric injuries due to lawnmowers. My guest is Dr. Dale Jarka. She is a pediatric orthopedic surgeon at Children's Mercy Kansas City. Dr. Jarka, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
So let's talk a little bit first, so lawnmower injuries, how common are these, and what are some of the numbers that you guys have?
Well, we recently looked at our 20-year experience with this, and we've had a total of 157 patients in 20 years, and it averages out to about 8 or 9 a year, although for some reason we couldn't figure out, in 2015 we actually hit 18. We don't know why, and that was really our main impetus to look into this and to work as best as we could to prevent these, because they are 100% preventable.
So are there any ages that are more prone to this injury? And if so, what are they, and why do you think?
Well, there's a couple of very good reasons. When we looked at our numbers, because we're looking at our population, which is 0 to 18, and there were two, what's called a bimodal distribution, in other words, clustered at one age and clustered at an older age. And in the younger ones, the age was clustered about age 4. And the older one, it was clustered about age 16.
That's young. Age 4 is surprising to me, right, Dr. Jarko? So let's talk about those two age groups. What's going on with the age 4 group?
The age 4 group are often the kids who are either bystanders in the yard around the person who is mowing, or they are passengers on the riding lawnmower. And I know that lawnmowers are fun, they're mechanized, they look pretty cool, and they love riding on with their parent or with their grandparent. But unfortunately, they can fall off and they can get severely injured, and sometimes these injuries can be fatal.
Yeah, that's scary. So that makes sense. So the 4-year-olds are probably bystanders, passengers, having some fun with it. What about as we move into that second bump up, around 16? What's going on there?
That's where you have the inexperienced mower. The person who decides, I want to get a summer job, I want to be mowing the lawn and earn some money, and they don't know how to do it safely. So that's why we see that two bumps, one the younger bump and the other one the older bump. So the older kids are more likely to be the ones who are the operators of either the riding lawnmower or the push lawnmower, the motorized lawnmower.
Right. And so, when I think about this, I think about, there's the rural setting, there's the city setting. Is there a difference there? Are more of the injuries in the city setting, maybe where they're not cutting grass as much in the rural?
We actually looked at that as well, and it's not skewed one or the other. There's both residential, where they're mowing in the backyard, and there's also the rural ones. The rural ones can be also the mechanized farm equipment, and there is a very aggressive device known as the brush hog, and we've seen some absolutely horrible injuries from that.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. So most of the injuries are coming in. Are they from some of those, the larger riding lawnmowers versus the push ones?
Yeah, and we looked at, when we looked at our numbers and looked at what kind of device was involved, it was probably 2 to 1 riding lawnmower versus push lawnmower. Although there was a fair number of people who, in our charts, when we did our chart review, they didn't specify what device it was. But the ones where the device was specified, it was 2 to 1 riding lawnmower versus push mower.
When you look at the injuries, are we talking mostly the traumatic injuries, or for me coming from the South, I remember having to cut the lawn in the middle of in summer in Houston, Texas. It's incredibly hot. Right? Were there other injuries that were? Yeah. So were there other injuries not just related to maybe trauma?
There's burns. You can certainly burn yourself on the hot motor and the hot device. We were mostly looking at the orthopedic-related injuries, but certainly burns can be part of this as well.
And so let's talk then about, Dr. Jarka, what exactly are you guys doing? And, at Children's Mercy, I know you've looked at the numbers now. You've put together this database. What's the next step? What do we want to accomplish from this?
We want to do public education. The American Academy of Pediatrics has a policy, and they already disseminate this information, that there should be no passengers on a riding lawnmower, just the operator. And the recommended age to start using the riding lawnmower is 16 years of age, and the recommended age to start using just a push motorized motor is 12. So we shouldn't be having younger people than that on devices that they're not ready for. They don't know how to manage them. They don't have the maturity. They may also be the one who is doing the mowing and the younger sibling is around, and they don't know the need to keep the younger sibling away. So it's a matter of maturity and motor skills too.
Yeah. Well, so how are we going to educate the community? Are there any plans for pamphlets? Is there going to be maybe public service announcements? How are we going to get this word out?
That's one of our goals, is to have some public service announcements, sometimes even in, actually already on riding lawnmowers. One of the nurse practitioners I work with, she showed me the key fob of her new riding mower, and it had the little pictograms of what not to do on the key fob. So the manufacturers are involved in trying to make them safer. There are things that are built into the devices. There's the kill switch. There's the one where if you have to actively be gripping the rod or the bar of the push motor to actually get the engine to engage, the blade to engage. And some of them, the riding mowers will not mow if the person is not seated on the actual seat. So they're trying to make those safer. But essentially, it's getting the word out. I'd love to do PSAs every year because we seem to see a bump when the mowing season starts. The mowing season starts about April in this area, and it usually goes until about October.
Yeah, and that's when you're starting to see some of the injuries come in. And I think you're right. I think the best thing we can do is educate. And I like the idea that the manufacturers are doing things to make these devices safer as well. So, Dr. Jarka, I'm going to thank you for the work that you're doing at Children's Mercy, and thank you for coming on the show today. You're listening to Transformational Pediatrics with Children's Mercy Kansas City. For more information, you go to childrensmercy.org. That's childrensmercy.org. I'm Dr. Mike Smith. Thanks for listening.